guys, Ron here. So a few months ago I released a video where I showcased the streams I did on YouTube where we fixed some Pokemon shinies that chat or I believed were underwhelming. I made 3 different versions based on viewer suggestions and my own knowledge of the lore, and chat voted on which was their favorite for each Pokemon. You guys loved the first video, but a good amount of viewers got annoyed that my chat would constantly vote for the black or white shinies that I made. It makes sense since 9 times out of 10, if you give a Pokemon a black shiny, they're gonna look sick. So this time I was conscious of this and tried my best to give a slightly wider variety of shiny fixes. Our first shiny is Simisear. It's literally the original color scheme with a less warm color temperature, one of the worst shinies ever. Since we're trying not to default to black shinies, I didn't make a smoky shiny Simisear. The first was just purple fire, intense and extreme. The third was a golden Simisear, something special, a golden poop if you will, almost like a worshipped Simisear god statue you'd find deep in the jungle. And finally a complementary blue and orange fire Simisear. It's very much akin to the color scheme of a Simipour, so it's very playful. The golden Simisear won with 45% of the vote. Makes sense, it's a believable looking shiny. Fire types could glow with such intensity, and it's a bit ironic since this is virtually the least popular Pokemon in existence. It should at least have a slightly redeeming shiny. Hippowdon shiny is very underwhelming. While I'd never want one, at least I could tell the difference. It's cool that we have an excuse to not make a black shiny since female Hippowdon already exists. So the first one was a red Scorching Sand version. Very exciting. The second one's a more tame earth-colored Hippowdon, while the final one had an army green hue, since this powerful Pokemon is already reminiscent of a tank. Green won with 50% of the votes. It's completely different without being too extreme, a very well-balanced shiny. And this time around, you'd bet your butt I want a green Hippowdon. Zapdos time! One of those slightly saturated shinies. It technically looks better than the original, but if I sent out a shiny Zapdos, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Our first fix was an electric blue. I mean it had to be. We're not going to do a pink or green shiny Zapdos. We're trying to make them feel intuitive, trying to bring to life all the missed opportunities. It looks good. Next is a glowing white lightning Zapdos, and then we tried a burnt black Zapdos, but it's kinda boring. So the final one was an intense sunburnt Zapdos, almost reminiscent of its Galarian form. The godlike white Zapdos won with 41% of the votes, and you knew it was gonna happen, but you gotta admit it's alluring. Definitely something special, and it makes so much sense. It's so powerful and bright that it's pure white. From one of my favorites to one of my least favorites, Granbull's skin color shiny ain't alright with me. We gotta play up its pastel colors. We can't give it a very saturated shiny since it's already very muted, so we'll make a pastel blue, a pastel green that is based on its inspiration, and then a pastel pink shiny like Snubbull. Pastel colors are, in my opinion, always appropriate with pure fairy types. To 52% of the chat, the blue one was the most appealing. I mean, it is. We'd all be happy with this. It's far from a controversial shiny fix in my opinion. They had the right idea with Poliwrath shiny, but the execution was not good. So for the first fix, I decided to correct their mistakes and make a green frog shiny using this delicious looking green. Like, damn, give me a moment right now. Wow, that's a good looking green. That looks really good. Oh, that looks good. I would want a Poliwrath that looks like that. Alright. Different shades of blue looks pretty good, but magenta was very pretty, and since frogs have so many different color options, why not pick some extreme colors? So gold was the final one. Black was fine though. Here's what black looks, by the way. It's cool, I guess, but like it doesn't make sense. Not everything has to be a black shiny. Okay, it's very cool. They're always cool. Pretend like every shiny gets a black version, okay? 3 very fine options, but thank God green won with 55% of the votes. We could have had this, guys. I've been staring at this for hours now. Next we had probably the most pathetic shiny I've ever seen, and nobody ever talks about it. That's the shiny! Everybody laugh at the shiny. What the hell is that? I want to see people laughing. I want to see people degrading this ghost in the shiny. In the chat. In the shiny. In previous games, it was way more noticeably white, but in 3D, it looks like it simply stepped into a slightly brighter room. I made the first one a little ghost blue, maybe even shinobi blue if you will, but let's make the second one an actual ghost or angel with a completely white color scheme. And the final one is... it's a demon. By a landslide with almost 60% of the votes, the white Shedinja won. Don't blame me for having another white shiny, this one makes a whole lot of sense. Next, we looked at Heatran. Not the worst shiny in this video, but definitely underwhelming. It's just a bit brighter with magenta eyes. It's a bit rusty too, so we'll keep that in mind. Now, I do believe Magma Pokemon should have hardened lava-colored shinies. After all, why not? Why shouldn't I make a black Heatran? So I did. Left the spots yellow and everything. And such an isolated and dangerous Pokemon should have a radioactive chemical waste-colored shiny, so I made that too. Nobody can stop me. And finally a bronze version. People wanted an orange Heatran. The green one won by 44%. I didn't influence anything, it has nothing to do with my biases, but I'd soft reset for this shiny. Then we have Legion. Orange ain't bad since orange ladybugs are a thing, but the execution could have been better. I made a yellow ranger Super Sentai Gold version, then a green one that represents Scyther's shiny. I thought it looked like a delicious apple. And finally a magenta one. Very pretty. It won by a substantial amount. I guess it was the flashiest one. Bayonet shiny is just a bit frozen. We could have gone off the walls with this one. So I did. I made a blood red one because this guy wants to murder children. Then a ghost white version that looks incredibly scary. Like, remember how I talked about how I have a phobia of white objects with black accents? Yeah, that kicked in. Oh, that's scary. That's very scary. That's scary. I don't want to look at that. That's very scary. And the last one had a Gengar color scheme with green eyes instead. I thought Bayonet and Gengar have kind of the same vibes, like they'd be friends, so it matches. Now wouldn't you know, the purple one won by 60%. It looks like what the shiny would have been. It's slightly more creepy than the original, so that's a win too, right? Then we took a crack at shiny Mawile. This is kind of boring. It's a noticeable change, but we can try to enhance the prettiness of Mawile. Yes, we did a white one first, but this actually matches the Futakachi Onna inspiration. Then I made a pink and blue version. I'm always a fan of pink and blue shinies, kinda like cotton candy. Then I made this very soothing looking bright blue and tan orange version. To add variety, I changed the horns of the second one to brown, but that just cemented the third one as the winner by 50%. I wholeheartedly agree. This looks like a shiny from Gen 3. I could have sworn this was its shiny. It feels right turning the black to blue and yellow to orange, and the eyes and tongue matching pink ties it all together. Plant Cloak Wormadam was next. This shiny is egregious. The only difference is that the black is a bit more blue. That's like the last thing that needed to change. So naturally, me and Chad agreed that we would give her a spring, autumn, and winter version. They're all fantastic. I'd be fine with any of them, and they could have existed to begin with. But like me, chat wanted a fall version. I'm always down for autumn versions of grass shinies. Butterfree is next. We all know that this isn't the color swap Butterfree that has touched our hearts, so we went right to work and made a shiny based on the female Butterfree in Bye Bye Butterfree. Then I made a version that matched the color schemes of its Prevos, and then a version that matched the shinies of Caterpie and Metapod. But we all know why we're here, and that was to make a pink Butterfree. It won by 62% of the votes. Why isn't this a thing, Game Freak? Get your priorities straight. Conkeldurr shiny isn't crazy bad, but it's kinda dumb. Again, it just looks like he's in a warmer room. There's a ton of potential for this walking meme. First, the chat wanted a full-on clown Conkeldurr. I gave it to them, but at what cost? It's very successful though. Then they wanted a Hulk green version to accentuate the popped veins, and since it's based on a construction worker with the veins looking like the patterns on a construction vest, we made one that looks like an NYC construction worker. I thought it would win, but Clown Conk won, with 50% more of the votes. It's an appropriate meme since the line is also based on carnies or carnival workers. Regardless, it shows the potential of this guy's color scheme. Thickly Shiny isn't bad, but it's such a blank slate that we could have turned it into anything really. The first one was like a little gold nugget, then a pastel colored one, pink and blue, like a fun little whack-a-mole, and finally, chat wanted to see him naked, so we made a nude-colored naked mole rat Diglett, and it won! Why wouldn't it? Bastiodon Shiny is definitely not bottom tier, but I would say that it's in the bottom half of shinies. I wouldn't complain about it though if I had one, but let's make more interesting ones. How about a more stereotypical dinosaur-colored Bastiodon, as in green Bastiodon. Then Chad wanted a rusted or copper version, I gave it to him, and then a silver one, so basically black and white and gray. Copper came out on top by a bit because it wasn't drastic or clashing, but did change it up from head to toe. Frostlash Shiny is just boring. I don't care for it. Changing it up is hard since it has multiple colors and infinite options. The first one is aqua green with a magenta belt, nothing extreme but still soothing. Next was blood red with some blue, basically inverted colors. Then black like a Glalie and Snorunt. It made the most sense, so it won. I actually would have loved a Frostlass like this. It really does emphasize how its head looks like a skull. Looks incredibly deadly. It's wearing black like it's in mourning. Then we have Linoon. Not a terrible shiny, but it's just another shade of brown. Our first was black and white like a European badger or its Galarian form. Very appropriate. Then I made this purple one on a whim, and it looks pretty cool. It's a very traditional looking shiny. Then chat wanted me to invert the colors, so I did, but it ended up relatively disappointing, so I made a silver version. Purple won. This is all up to preference since a lot of people still enjoyed the original one. Now when I saw Octillery Shiny, my number one priority was to perfectly execute the existing concept of a golden Octillery, so I went ahead and fixed Game Freak Shiny. Then I made a version with Graplock's color scheme, and I loved it very much. Then I made a light blue one with a bit of orange. one of my favorite color combinations. It looks tropical, and octopi have so many different colors considering they can change it, but then we all remembered that we wanted an army green version to play on the whole tank theme that Octillery has. It do be looking like a tank though. Ooh, that's a tank. That's a tank. Yeah, that's a tank. Tank. Okay, these are good. These are nice. I like these. They all looked great, but Tank won. It's one of the most appropriate shinies I've ever seen. The Meowth one isn't the best. We had a white one because white cats exist and naturally people wanted blacks, but it didn't look good. I gave up and made it whatever this color is. The problem is that we can't make it have weird colors or too saturated, considering it's already a Pokemon with relatively muted colors. The final one was inspired by a Sphinx cat. I thought it would win, but White Meowth won. Good for it. It doesn't look terrible. It's better than the original, but turning brown Pokemon into shinies is really tough. Shiny Clefable wasn't easy either, since it's literally one color. We tried to pick variants that made sense. We started with a deep purple version to represent space, then we did an alien green version that was way better than expected, and then an angelic beige one with golden ears to represent the halo. All three at the very least had a concept. Deep purple won with 51% of the votes. It works, I wouldn't complain at all. Whiscash's shiny is noticeable, but pretty disappointing. I didn't want to make it straight up brown like a catfish, so I made it red. It fits really well. Then the tropical mix of turquoise and orange that I love. And finally, a darker orca-looking Whiscash, and wouldn't you know, chat loved them. And the winner so far is... Oh my god! It's a tie between red and navy! Oh... Then I think I get to overrule, honestly, this time. And I don't know which one to win. Oh my god, red is winning. Now navy is close. They couldn't decide which was the best. The red one was the most balanced, the green one was my personal favorite, and the navy one was the coolest. But ultimately, red won by like 1%. I was a fan of all three, but damn would I be happy if I caught this one. Articuno's turn. This is an underwhelming shiny. I get it, but let's do it better. Snow White Articuno is obvious. Then an Aurora Green one looks fantastic. And finally the Magenta one looked... I had no justification for it, so thank god it didn't win. And thank Arceus, that green one, cause look at that. Now I have to spend another 2 hours looking at this beauty. This would be my favorite shiny if it existed. Finally, Duraludon. The original shiny technically looks better than the normal Duraludon in my opinion, but we could do so much better. The first was a bronze and rusted version, like chat wanted. It works really well. Then a more monochrome turquoise one, almost like silver, and then a rose gold one. I mean, it's more red than rose gold, but it's the thought that counts. Guess which one? It was the middle one by a small amount. It's just an appealing color, nothing too fancy. But to let me know if I should make part 3, leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for a ton of Pokemon art videos. Check the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early. You can also get rewards by clicking the join button to become a member. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram to see the final artwork of my Pokemon, and bye!